Time to get underway. As you see all 5 lights come on, what's going to happen at the start? It is go in Brazil, and it's a slow one from the McLaren, I think, and the Flatty looks like he's gotten a better start and actually goes back into the lead that he lost thanks to the sprint race. As we see there, as the Haas goes into the lead, it looks like IIRConnor's dropped down to 9th. Appy and Hyper are both out of the race. I don't know whether they collided with together. Oh, and the Red Bull of Price to Bees has gone out as well, and that is absolute carnage at the start of this race, and it looks like that's certainly one that may warrant a safety car if they're out. And that was an that's a chaotic start, to say the least, and it's not something that we like to see at all, if I'm honest. But thankfully, virtual safety car has been deployed. Virtual safety car has been deployed. As we see, Mr. Wiggles has got damage, and does Padge have damage himself in that Williams? IIRConnor has not gained any positions, but IIRJ has actually lost P3 down. Jake Sharrock is re-overtaking him, who's still ruining maybe from that front wing damage. Away, and already Platty's built out over a second, which is what he needs to do to get out of the DRS. Millsy is falling vintage to Sharrock, and what's happened to Ripley? Ripley is spun in the Aston Martin. Yes, Ripley has spun, and IIRConnor has passed Aki, but the Mercedes should be coming back at him, as Bullet is also behind him there in the Aston Martin. The Alpine is under pressure. He's got to hold on to that 5th place. It looks like he's just about doing that as the Aston Martin goes round to the inside of the first corner. Is he going to make the move stick on the Alpine? IIRConnor needs this position, and looks like he's making it work. And now, unfortunately, the Aston has got the switchback on him, so he should be quite a close one. He's got the DRS, and I don't think the Alpine's going to be able to fight against that. He's going to have to wait another lap before he can really make that move stick. The Aston gets up in front of the Alpine and hinders IIRConnor's charge. As IIRJ goes round the outside of turn 3, and this is action all everywhere you go. He's fighting Jake Sharrock yet again, as Millsy looks like he's catching up to the back of Platty. You know me saying, do you guys remember me saying I was trying to get my breath back? Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, as we see the top 4 find out between them, and crucially, if Jake Sharrock has got DRS, then that should protect him somewhat from what IIRJ is capable of doing. And Bullet has got about 8/10 up on IIRConnor. The soft tyres really working for him. Millsy has done the fastest lap of the race, and IIRJ almost goes into the back. But crucially, Jake Sharrock doesn't have DRS, so he is vulnerable at this section of the lap. He's got DRS on him. He will have to go round to the outside, I think, but no, he goes to the inside, forces his way on the inside. He's not quite made it stick. The AlphaTauri goes wide there, side by side. Is he going to make it work? Yes, he has. IIRJ has now gone up into 3rd position. Going to take the position? No, he's not. He's going to have to hang back. P1 and 2 close together. P3 and 4 close together. But it looks like the Haas has gotten the defence that he needs. But what's happening behind with IIRJ? It looks like he's going to have to defend the position. But no, the AlphaTauri has overtaken him. Yes, he's overtaken and forces him out wide. But there we have it, folks. Another change of position. Alright, so I don't think, if he's wise, he's not going to overtake him here. No, he's not, because he knows how powerful that DRS is on the 2nd DRS zone. He takes a nice line through the corner, as in front it's 3/10 between the leaders. So I don't think he's close enough to make the position change there. But what is the Aston Martin, what is the Alpha doing? He hasn't going for the move. Hanging back, it seems, there. But yet another close gap, and that was a bad exit there from Platty. That was a bad exit indeed. But is he going to get DRS? It doesn't quite look like it. And what is Millsy going to do? He's got DRS activated. He's got overtake activated. He's got round the overtake done as well. Millsy retakes the lead, but he's got to make this one stick, because the 2nd DRS zone is really where the Haas can make a comeback, and the Haas driver knows it. He knows it, certainly. This goes down to the inside on the 2nd DRS zone. This is where all the gains are made, and Platty, as expected, retakes it. But going on board for P3, IIRacingLeague still fighting Jake Sharrock, who loses out. IIRacingLeague has taken P3 for now, and this is brilliant, brilliant racing, it has to be said. The Bullet now has caught them behind, so Jake Sharrock has got 3 problems, and now he's already got the Aston behind to deal with, and SLR Connor's just sitting back, biding his time, and this all looks like it's going to be coming to him as these guys destroy their tyres fighting each other. It may very well play into the Alpine's hands. He's far back enough not to destroy his tyres, but crucially, he's close enough to be a threat. The Aston goes for the overtake on the AlphaTauri. He's made the move stick, and is he going to do a double overtake? He goes to the inside. Is he going to make it work? And he does. It looks like he's made it work, but IIRacingLeague now a victim to Jake Sharrock, it seems, or more likely not. He's got DRS. But there we have it, the Bullet. Just like that, moves up into 3rd position. Brilliant racing, it has to be said. Let us know how you're feeling in the chat about this. For all of those of you who are watching, time as IIRacingLeague, it looks like he's going to go for an overtake on the Aston. He gets a lovely line out there. Unfortunately, he lost the back end a little bit, but is he going to be able to make the overtake work? It certainly looks like it. He's got overtake activated. Goes to the inside, and no, he doesn't. He brakes very, very early, it has to be said, but the Aston leaves in space, and I don't think he's going to be able to make the move stick around the outside. No, he's not. But all this fighting between them is actually should, in theory, pull him closer to SLR Connor, who, to be honest, I think I'm surprised he's not closer to these guys, so I don't know whether he's just having some off laps and made a few mistakes. But the Alpine is 2.1 seconds behind a couple of cars who will surely lose time fighting each other. So surely you'd think that will play back into his hands somewhat. For the Bullet, we come up to lap 10 of this 36 lap race, and you can see the gap SLR Connor is on there. I have to take almost a breather there. As once again, the next round in this long fight between these 3 cars who are giving us an absolutely splendid show, as the expected first jab is the Aston passing the Alpha, and with SLR Connor not too far behind them as well. Look how close the Alpha is. That is a brilliant drive coming off the back of that corner with overtake activated. The Aston's going to have to work hard to defend, but it doesn't put up too much of a fight. All this is helping Connor out in front, because you have to remember these guys are wasting their tyres and their energy fighting each other. But it's doing well to hang on, all things considered. Sammy Style takes the fastest lap of the race with a 1 minute 9.6. Jake Sharrock has obviously got between the two, but Jake Sharrock's penalty puts SLR Connor into a net 5th place. More and more carnage, it has to be said. And what's happened to the Mercedes of Aki AMG? He's spun it, which unfortunately has done his race, and IIRacingLeague falls down to 5th place. Jake Sharrock has overtaken him. And what is going to happen? He's deploying his overtake on the Bullet, and there we have it. More changes for position. It's almost like guess the position every time they change. It feels like it'll be different every single time. So it's just a marvellous piece of racing here by the crowd. It has to be said. Oh. These cars. SLR Connor's got a 3-second time penalty, whoever runs in 5th place. I say that because I highly suspect we go there. Oh, and Connor spun! SLR Connor has spun in the Alpine, and unfortunately he has dropped down the order. He's dropped down to 7th. That is crucial for how this race comes out as well. He was looking quite handy rather to make his way back up through the field. But unfortunately, if there's a safety car, that's not going to help him as well, as Jake Sharrock goes up into third position behind Bullet, who, despite on aging soft tyres, is hanging on very, very well. But as you can see, his exit there was a little bit tardy, but it's not quite going to help him in the grand scheme of things. But however, it does enable him to defend against the Bullet. I mean, defend against... oh my god. So hard to concentrate with this race. Connor's now down into 8th place. Bullet goes into the pits. He goes into the pits to change tyres, and that is the first point of call. But what is he going to go on as we... let's see, we're going to quickly go on board with the Bullet to see what tyres he puts on. He puts on to mediums as Platty is changing his front wing, so that explains why he's lost so much time. He, with his spin, certainly quite hot. What's the Bullet going to do against Aki AMG? He's still behind, and with fresher mediums on, he's got to pass him very, very quickly. But sadly, I don't think that's going to happen, as IIRacingLeague now fights alongside Jake Sharrock. He's got 8/10 in his pocket, the AlphaTauri has over the Alfa Romeo. But what's going to happen in terms of pit stops? He comes in. The AlphaTauri comes into the pits, fearing a potential undercut. Go on board with him, so we'll just watch him now and decide if he comes in as well. And Platty is also in yet again. What is Platty doing back inside the pits? Maybe he had damage yet again, but that sees the Hat, who is running in 2nd place, drop all the way back to the back of the pack. That's crazy stuff here. It's 5/10 between them. But both of them having stopped. Songon's done very well to make those tyres last, because surely with the soft tyres, Aki will have more life in his. As Jake Sharrock fights Greg in the Mercedes. With fresh softs on, this will surely be mincemeat for him. But I think what he's going to do, he's going to wait for the DRS to prevent the Mercedes having any chance of a counter-attack. As you'll see there, the activation line, he's gone through it now, goes for the overtake, and he's made it work quite comfortably. And with the DRS activated, that means Jake Sharrock has certainly made quite a decisive overtake there. I don't see how Greg can fight against that in the Mercedes, especially with the warm rubber that he's on. A commanding position in the lead with a gap of 9.5 seconds over IIRacingLeague. Runnermuck is 3rd in the Ferrari. There's certainly a brilliant recovery drive so far from him. He has obviously got a time penalty attributed to him, so that's not quite where he wants to be, as Ripley is still fighting with SLR Connor, who, after recovering from a spin in the sprint race and a spin on this race, unfortunately is around nearly 20 seconds behind the lead. So a one-stop is surely his only chance of winning, unless there's a safety car, and that will completely change everything. But it looks like it's starting to calm down somewhat at the top, as Sun God comes into the pits to put on medium compound tyres. That sees him into 12th. Well, certainly not his best. Certainly not his best track, as he mentioned in the chat. It's certainly nice to see him out there racing in the McLaren. Kind of suits him, those colours, it has to be said. I don't know what it is, but it looks like IIRacingLeague seems to be losing quite a lot of pace, as the Ferrari is right behind him. Doesn't look like any of the medium tyre runners are going to come in soon, so I think that confirms it. They are certainly going to a one-stop and making the... And he goes on to the softs. To make those softs last 16 laps is a bit of an ask, but not impossible. Now, what are the mediums going to do? And Jake Sharrock fights with SLR Connor now. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there. So yeah, Jake Sharrock has actually got... oh yes, because he made his pit stop on soft compound tyres. He's now fighting the Alpine for positions in this race. So it looks like Jake Sharrock is the one going on to a two-stop, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out well for him in the long run. Runnermuck has now got DRS on IIRacingLeague, so I highly suspect an overtake will be coming there. So we're going to quickly go on to that fight there. What is the Alfa Romeo going to do in terms of a pit stop? No, he stays out. And the Ferrari goes down to the inside. And Run Amok, who started at the back, takes second position for now, but he needs a good exit out of the center S's, as IIRacingLeague, who has DRS, is not using any energy to overtake. So with that seals IIRacingLeague down in the extra position. So as we see, Jake Sharrock has moved up and past SLR Connor, 15 to start laps, and into the pit lane comes Millsy. Millsy in the McLaren goes into the pit lane now as Run Amok stays out, who will be leading this Grand Prix. This is the testing time now for this round, and Millsy, who had already had a comfortable advantage, where's he going to come out in relation to Jake Sharrock? Looks like Jake Sharrock won't quite get the overtake done, but as we see Connor coming into the pits as well in the Alpine, who also, like I suspect, goes onto the softs, so he'll be taking those softs through up until the end. As in the lead, the two leaders fighting each other, it looks like their fates are sealed in potentially second or third place. Jake Sharrock is, 6-lap-old softs, is falling back somewhat from Millsy, who is certainly in a very comfortable position the way he is. He's just got to drive safely and he'll get those tyres through to the end, which means a one-stop will more than surely be the way to go. So I highly suspect these two leaders will be coming into the pits, and Songod looks like he's had a moment. He's fallen back rather to 13th place. What are the two leaders doing? They're coming into the pits. And yes, they are. So with that, we have two drivers coming into the pits. We also have a Williams coming into the pit lane as well. So I imagine I don't really know who's stopping there. The Muck comes out ahead of IIRacingLeague into fourth. What is happening in terms of the leaders? Ripley is behind in sixth, and the Bullet is miles ahead of the pair of them. But he's the one with a tough job to do. Jake Sharrock is dropped down to 2 seconds back from Millsy, so it's looking like the McLaren is certainly in a strong position to win this Grand Prix. Greg comes into the pits now, into the Mercedes. Platty up to 11th, trying to recover from that spin. It's one of those races that we're certainly, those who have lost out big will certainly need a safety car to boost their chances. But IIRacingLeague's fight really is now with Run Amok, who started from the back and is now to 4th position in the Ferrari. As we see, speaking of the Ferrari, it looks like he made a mistake coming out that corner. And there we have the Alpha that drives just clean around the outside, going into Jun Shao. Millsy takes the fastest lap so far with a 1 minute 8.4, as the Ferrari versus the Alpha is quite decisive this first DRS zone, because the Ferrari will surely pass him, but he'll be the one vulnerable for the rest of the lap, because the second DRS zone, as you would have seen from the stream, is a very powerful one at best. As you look at the drive that IIRacingLeague gets out of that corner, with 2 tenths behind, he knows how strong he is. And it's just like that. He overtakes, go around to the outside. It almost fully clears the car, I think. But the Ferrari is coming back at him. But it doesn't quite work out to his favour. But no, yes, it does. The camera angles are so misleading on this game. As the Alfa Romeo, he sticks it round. He's going to stick around the outside. But the Ferrari is going with him. Certainly brilliant stuff to watch. And they're still side by side with each other. This is brilliant stuff to watch as the Alpha continues, though they've been side by side since about turn 4, as the Alpha sticks with him there, and the Ferrari goes round the out, sticking to the inside. I gets a switchback line as it seems, but he's not going to take the other line there. He's going to wait for the DRS, but this is brilliant stuff, because particularly for the Bullet, because IIRacingLeague and Run Amok are going to waste all their energy fighting each other to actually make an indent into his position. But let's see what happens here. IIRacingLeague is not pretending too far from the Ferrari. He goes down to the inside. Unfortunately, that was not a good line that he needed at all. So it looks like the Ferrari may be safe with this DRS zone coming up. He's got overtake and everything activated. The Ferrari covers it off very early. What can the Alfa Romeo do to fight it? It goes round to the outside, but the Ferrari has got him covered. Get him closer at best, as Jake Sharrock comes into the pits for what I presume will be his second stop, which I don't think is actually the right strategy to go with in hindsight, because he'll drop so far down the pack. And it looks like he hasn't got damage. Or no, he does have damage on his front wing. And, oh, it just goes from bad to worse for him. So once an extremely commanding race, very reminiscent of John B, as Run Amok continues to defend against IIRL, which is certainly going to be a brilliant, brilliant fight to continue watching. Platty into the pits yet again. I presume that will be for damage or to some capacity. But the Ferrari has almost got a 1 second buffer over the Alpha. So maybe IIRL just struggling generally with pace, but it's not what he needs. He's got 8 tenths. He's got the DRS. But he can't really make any more inroads into them. Run Amok is 1.7 behind the Bullet now, who 12 lap on mediums. He's got 9 more laps to go. It's certainly feasible to get him to the end of the race on a one-stop strategy, but have Run Amok with a 3-second penalty. We have SLR Connor with a 3-second penalty. Jake Shark with 6 seconds. Sun God now with a 3-second penalty. Aki AMG with 11 seconds. And Mr. Wiggles with 3 seconds. As we see, the Ferrari has caught the Aston Martin of Bullet, who I don't think is going to be able to defend this one, at least when we get around to the second part. IIRL still behind him as well. The fight re-emerges now, just in an entirely just in another new setting as well. This is so brilliant to watch, everyone. It has to be said. With Run Amok, surely with DRS behind the Aston Martin, that will surely mean a quick overtake for the Ferrari. But can the Alpha go with him? No, there was no overtake there. No overtake at all. So I highly suspect with Run Amok, IIRL fighting each other, you've got to get those soft two to the end. Actually, as I say that, it goes round to the outside. But it hasn't quite worked in there. But that's going to give the Alpha a sniff of an opportunity. All this is going to help Mills, who with, let's be real, a 17-second lead is an absolutely commanding triumph. Especially, particularly in this game, where it's so hard to pull away from the car. You'll see it in Formula 1 esports. They all follow nose to tail from about 1st to about 14th down, as long as Jarno Ottman is not in the front. And there we go. It's nose to tail between these cars now. And look at the Alfa Romeo goes round to the inside. Is he going to take them both around the middle of the corner? No, he's not. Who's going to come out on top? The Bullet falls down, and that I'm not sure whether that's going to leave it's not going to leave the Alpha vulnerable there. I don't think it is, because he'll have DRS from the Ferrari. That means he'll be protected. And this is so close stuff. This is genuinely one of the most brilliant races I've ever commentated on in IIRL. Truly brilliant stuff. Between these two, this is for second place, but IIRL has got it when penalties are applied. In fact, that will mean the Ferrari will lose out and drop to 4th position, so he's got to start pulling a gap if he wants to retain his second position. But the way this track is, it's actually, you can actually race on it somehow. So it's surely mainly because Herman Tilke hasn't messed with it, but hey, that's sort of stranger things certainly have happened. And Mr. Wiggles, it looks like has had a moment on top of Jun Shao. That means for him, he's got looks like Sun God behind him there in the McLaren, but that's not too good news here for the 82 champion. Brilliant Giant, but very respectful. I'm very pleased that there hasn't been a big collision in any capacity. But Millsy surely taking it easy. He's got a 17-second advantage over these guys who are spending so much of their time fighting each other. It's going to be very rare. It's going to be a nail biter all the way through to the end, but IIRL has got it on countback, but Bullet is dropping back, which means that's good news for Run Amok if he wants to stay on the podium at the very least. As you'll see, the Ferrari almost moves out of the way, so he knows he's not quite going to be able to defend it. And there we have it. Another change for position, which means IIRacingLeague goes up into second. Himself. SLR Connor still in P6. Unless the guys in front have penalties. It looks like the positions are certainly going to stay there as the Ferrari goes down to the inside yet again, but that's going to leave him vulnerable once more to the Alfa Romeo, as you'll see it. Here comes the switchback. Here comes, he had the blow first, and here's the counter blow, and there you have it. The positions change yet again. It's interesting watching this one. You're just going to wait for the first punch and then the inevitable counter punch. I have to say, very well done to these two for keeping it very, very clean going into this race. The fights between these guys have been absolutely splendid to watch for everyone involved. So for a majority of the pack, for them to keep it as clean as they have done, I have to say full marks to everybody watching this particular round. As we see, starting lap 33, what can the Ferrari do? He's got DRS, but he hasn't quite got the gap, so he's not going to be able to overtake here. But what he is going to do is set himself up very, very nicely. He's got some nice exit out of the center S. This goes around the outside of turn 3. He's got overtake and everything applied. The Alfa knows he's not going to be able to defend against it. And there you have it. Run amok. Now back into second position. Deal in itself. But any more close fighting is going to remind me very much of Dijon in 1979, the fight between Gilles Villeneuve and René Arnoux. As the gap out in front between the top two is bottoming out at about 7/10 of a second, 6/10 now, 7/10. Still so close between them, and we'll follow them through surely as we go down at the exit of Junshao, as the two Astons versus the Alpine. Is there going to be a bit of teamwork here maybe to defend against the Alpine, who is surely still seething from the mistakes that he has made this round? But the Bullet, surely he's not going to be able to hold up his teammate as he goes down to the inside. Oh, and they almost turned in on each other, and there's contact between the two Alpine. The two Aston Martins, I think, have made contact with each other, and they commit the cardinal sin. They have made contact with each other, the two cars, and that is... God, if I were Lawrence Stroll, I'd certainly be having words with these guys. I would have said Otmar Safnauer, but he now will have left the team. And now that gives SLR Connor 5th place, and without a doubt, surely it will grant him P4 when he eventually makes his way past the Aston Martin. And IIRacingLeague looks like he's hanging back. He knows if he stays within 3 seconds, he's got second place in his pocket. So we're going to go back to the Aston versus the Alpine. This is make or break stuff. SLR Connor, is he going to hang back? Takes a look around the inside, and looks like the Ripley is almost backed out of it, but looks like he should be getting himself some good drive coming off the back of that corner, which should mean he should be able to get through. And with that, IIRacingLeague has stayed behind. He hasn't quite got through the Ferrari, so he's just got to stay within 3 seconds, and it's his. So there we have it with IIRacingLeague, who has surely if he stays behind him, he's going to end up finishing in P2 on countback, as we go on board with the leader Millsy, who in the McLaren, who has been almost invisible this race because he's just been so dominant. What an absolutely phenomenal drive by Millsy in the McLaren, who wins by a country mile from the rest of the field. 25 points, well-earned points in the grand scheme of things. That is a lovely result for him. And it looks like SLR Connor, with this penalty, surely will lose out to Ripley, so he won't gain anything by making that move. Run amok comes across the line to finish. P3 in reality. SLR Connor will come across the line, which will drop back to P5 when Ripley crosses line. Yes, he does. Jake Sharrock will have his penalties applied, but I don't think that will make too much of a difference in the grand scheme of things, as the Bullet seems to be cruising now. Seems to be cruising to the finish line. But he's got to get a move on, or else he's going to lose 8th position to the Ferrari. And he does lose it to the Ferrari. So I'm not quite sure what he was doing there. But with that, he loses 9th place now to the Ferrari. He finishes 8th overall. But unfortunately, it looks like the bullet almost just kind of ran out of steam there. So there we have it, everyone. That was the end of an absolutely bonkers race to watch, with this man Millsy taking the lead with an absolutely commanding drive, brilliant pace all the way throughout, and absolutely brilliant lights to flag victory. Brilliant win from the McLaren there, with Ron Lamotte getting driver of the day on the game because of his comeback drive from the back all the way through up into P3. IIRJ takes P2. That I'm going to get something to drink, because that was an absolutely lovely race to commentate on. Certainly one that took my breath away. Unfortunately, we're